you can start the next day fresh.
Yeah.
The beauty of that. And so, those outside the Catholic faith are encouraged to read your Bibles, of course, and to pray to God. That's all a wonderful truth. But the liturgy of the church has designed us, right, has helped us to have this cycle of opening ourselves up to the grace of God on a day-by-day basis.
And I think the examination of conscience is something that any Christian, any person really, but certainly any Christian can do. And I think it's one of the most important ways of remaining honest ourselves, honest with ourselves. And, going before the Lord each day, acknowledging those ways that we have failed, also acknowledging with gratitude the ways that he has moved our freedom to do the right thing and to follow him more closely. And also to make a good resolution or two for the following days. There's always a sense of, with God's grace, improving. That St. Ignatius uses it's like the sword. You have these particular examinations, little things you're working on. And the general examination is more like the shield. Protecting yourself. So there's there's this sense of always growing in the spiritual life. Teresa of Avila say that there's no flat plane. In the spiritual life, you're either going up, it's like a mountain with little gravel on it. If you stop walking, you start sliding. It's always moving. The Spirit is always drawing us closer to Him. And if we ever give up on that, then we end up sort of starting to pull back. So there is a battle, to the Christian life, but it's a battle for life.
Email Kathy from Ohio. As a mother to several sons, it would be a privilege for one of them to become a priest. There are so many ways to ignore a call to the priesthood, so I was hoping Father could give some ideas for how to guide young men who are not opposed to the idea of being a priest.
Yeah, well, it's a great question from Kathy. I mean, first of all, I'm so grateful for that openness to one of her sons becoming a priest, and even a sense that it would be a
Is there less of that today than there was in the past?
I don't know. I really
amongst
can't.
Parents, I mean,
it's both. It goes both ways. I mean, there are certainly many wonderful parents like this who have a real desire for religious vocation in their family and see it as an honor from God and do all that they can to nurture that vocation. I think it's very important that they not overdo it in a sense, because you want it to be a free choice, and ultimately, especially if they have a vocation, it's going to be best served if it's done in a way that really respects and nurtures their freedom, rather than and that's less common today, but that was very common back in the day. It's your mother's vocation kind of thing. So but then there are also unfortunately, sometimes it happens that parents see this as a way that their son's going to be very unhappy. I think I want to think that that's almost always the case. I hope it's not other reasons, but there has been so much bad sort of publicity about the priesthood, and if your knowledge of the priesthood is really through those headlines, then it's understandable that parents, good parents, loving parents, would be concerned about their sons considering the priesthood. So the first thing is just to acknowledge and to kind of admire that openness to the Lord's call in her son's life, and if there are parents who struggle with this, who think that this is a path to unhappiness or to a difficult kind of purely sacrificial life or something like that, I think to take a lot of sort of satisfaction in the fact that priests are, by every measure ever done, among the happiest people in the country, in the planet. They have these happiness, surveys. I mean, very extensive surveys, and priests are, it's through the charts. So, and I don't say that just because it's about numbers, but I mean just in my own experience, and I hope in the experience of people who actually know priests, not just headlines, but actual men, that these are people incredibly satisfied with their lives, and I know that it's been a source of incredible joy for me and for priests that I know, and to be in this paternal role as a father to so many people, and to help people draw closer to God, and in so doing draw closer ourselves, if we try to be at least struggling in our own sinfulness to be faithful to Him. It's the most extraordinary, beautiful vocation I can imagine, and so to first of all show that, and to try to encourage one's sons to see that by being called to the priesthood, you haven't lost the lottery, you won the lottery. I mean, it's the most amazing thing that can happen to your son. And then to maybe find some ways to kind of make it a realistic option. The same thing that wasn't the case for me with marriage. That it really was something that in some way I had felt like I had been guilted myself out of. That I sort of, the church needs priests, therefore. The same thing can't happen in the other direction. That there needs to be a genuine freedom there, and that freedom means really that marriage is real, but also that priesthood is a real possibility. And to make it a real possibility by getting to know some priests, going to different vocation camps and things like that. It just kind of meet other people who are discerning the priesthood, and then from that point, really to help your son kind of understand some of those basic principles of discernment we were talking about earlier, including some spiritual directions. A very simple spiritual direction with the priest can be helpful.
Yeah, I would never